Hi, Year 7, Mr. Tapley here to walk you through your first lesson of Living and Learning in Term 3 Remote Learning 2020. So this lesson I'll be going over how we're structuring our classes for Living and Learning in Term 3. I'll be walking you through the Remote Learning Journal, a bit similar to last term but with a few changes. I'll be talking about just the general curriculum and showing you what you're specifically doing for this first lesson. So as I said before, Living and Learning in Term 3 will be similar to Term 2. The main goal is not giving you guys any extra assignments or work. We don't want you to have to stress about complicated tasks and etc. Really what we want is to provide you with an opportunity to de-stress, to relax, just a break from your regular classes, because I'm sure it's very stressful, very anxious, completing remote learning again. So Living and Learning is a space where you can just relax a bit, I suppose, hopefully. So each lesson, we still want you to log on to Google Classroom, to Compass, and to get something done, but it's going to be a very brief activity, very short, very simple, designed to connect your remote learning experiences, a self-reflection, so get you thinking about your thinking, and then using the remaining time in the lesson for self-care activities, because that's the main point about living and learning. We want you to be taking care of yourself, basically, and we're just going to include a few little activities to make sure you're still engaged with your schoolwork and make sure that you are not just taking care of yourselves, but talking to your mates, taking care of your classmates. So this Google Slides presentation will provide the template for completing these activities. Each student has an individual presentation that yourself and the teacher can access/view. So just like the student notebook in humanities, I'll be able to see what you do each lesson, what you've added to each slide. So you don't need to create a new file or anything. You can just type what you're doing into the template. The presentation can be updated each lesson and submitted at the end of Term 3. You don't need to submit it each week. It's not an assignment like that. It's just something that you add to every lesson, every week. And at the end of Term 3, we can talk about submitting it. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. So, the instructions for today is to complete the weekly activity slides within the Google Slides presentation template. You will only need to complete one weekly activity slide per lesson. I should stress that now. Don't try and finish the whole thing in one go. And then after you complete the slide activity, you're then going to go to Google Classroom and look at your weekly reflection. It's a little Google Doc file. Again, it's an individual file. Don't need to make a new one. Don't need to do anything to it except enter in the little boxes. Remaining lesson time may be spent on self-care activities. What I mean by that is not playing video games or going on Netflix. I mean communicating with your friends via social media. I think that probably the worst thing about remote learning is not getting to spend time with your friends and to work in class with your friends. There's a lot of individual tasks. Not my preference, but it's the only way we can really do it in remote learning properly. So living and learning would be a good opportunity for you guys to talk to your mates on social media and start a Zoom call or get into Discord or Facebook chats or whatever you young people use. Reading, I think it'd be a good break. Not just reading for school, but reading for fun would be a good break, I think, from your lessons. Cooking, that's always a fun activity. Takes a bit of skill, takes up some time, and you get a nice reward at the end. Art, either graphics design on an iPad or a Mac or a computer, or actually just drawing something out. It'd be a very creative activity. Sports and exercise, stay in shape. Listening to music, creating music, or creating a music playlist. Jigsaw puzzles, Rubik's Cube, whatever. So our very first activity for living and learning, this is what you're doing this week. Goals. We're looking at goals. So similar to last term, we're going to have like weekly little activities. We're going to be changing it up a bit with a few of them, but I don't want to make anything too new. I apologize if it's a bit boring, but I wanted to keep it simple. That was my first aim. I didn't want to make something new and complicated for you guys to have another thing to stress about. I'm just going to keep it nice and simple. First week, we're looking at goals. So what are your remote learning goals this term? It is important to set personal goals to plan your future activities and motivate yourself doing remote learning and life. I mean, we looked at goals in economics, the importance of having a goal, something you're working towards, saving towards. The goals you set yourself may relate to school, so maybe you want to get this result in assessment, or maybe you want to improve upon your last result in assessments. Maybe you just want to complete all the lesson activities on time. My goal this week is to not fall behind. Maybe you want to ask questions in class. One of my favorite university classes I took was on Aboriginal history, which is very appropriate because we're doing history in ancient Australia in term 3. And the rule that the lecturer had was that every student had to ask one question each class. That was a rule. He had like a little checklist, and he'd say, oh, Tom hasn't asked a question, I'm waiting. And if you hadn't asked a question by the end of the class, you would just stay behind to ask him a question, which was a bit annoying at first, but I learned a lot from that class. It was a really good class. So maybe your goal is just, I'm going to ask Mr. Tapley one question this week. I'm going to email him, Google Classroom comment, something like that. Or your goals may be related to your personal life. So maybe my goal this week is I'm going to get outside of the house and exercise once a day, or 2 times a day, or whatever. Maybe I'm going to make an effort to talk to my friends more during remote learning this term. Consider your experiences during term 2 remote learning when you're setting your goals. So what were your successes? What could you improve upon? What is important to your health and happiness? Don't just pick the first 3 things you can think of. Really think about what are your goals for this term. So all you need to do is, and again, you'll have this own template, this own presentation for yourself. So you just quite literally need to type into that little box there. What are your top 3 goals for term 3? And then if you have some time, you might include a few images there related to your goals, a few memes, quotes, whatever you want to do. But really you're just typing in 3 goals for your living and learning experience in term 3 this year. If you have any questions, guys, please let me know. I should probably show you where the weekly reflection is, eh? So go back to Google Classroom, Living and Learning folder here. So the remote learning journal that you were just looking at right there. And then the weekly reflection. So after I've typed in my 3 goals, I'm going to go to my weekly reflection. Again, don't need to submit it, just need to open it up. Looks something like this. And you can see I've got instructions there. All I need to do is fill in these 2 boxes. So in this box here, what did you accomplish this lesson? What was a positive experience you can highlight in this lesson? So I accomplished the lesson activities, I wrote down my 3 goals, positive experience, I finished a bit early, and I used the extra time to talk to my mates or listen to music. Self-reflection over here, after this lesson I feel good, or I feel bad, or I feel tired, or hungry. I enjoyed having a bit of free time to myself. In the next lesson, I will try and ask Mr. Tapley a question before the lesson, or something like that. So that's all you need to do this lesson, guys. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. And yeah, best of luck. That's just the Compass lesson plan there. Cheers.